As soon as the Karmelo Anthony Austin Metcalf story broke, the first thing Karmelo's supporters started screaming was, "It's stand your ground! The stand your ground law! It's Texas! It's stand your ground!" And look, I'm no legal expert. I never pretend to be. I let you guys know all the time I'm not an expert when it comes to the law. But I'm also not a complete idiot. And I just don't think that's how this stand your ground law works. I think you gotta kind of be standing your ground, not someone else's ground. Like, I don't think you can go into an area where you're not supposed to be. I don't think you can go under another team's tent and start some crap and then claim to be standing your ground, right? That's not how this works. Now, if Austin Metcalf went under Karmelo's team's tent starting stuff, and then things went down and Karmelo stood his ground, maybe we would have a different conversation. I think that would be a little different. I still don't think you can claim stand your ground, at a school track meet. I think a lot of the laws that people are looking into, even self-defense, the fact that this happened at a school track meet and that Karmelo brought a weapon to a school track meet, I mean, it kind of negates a lot of these arguments that people are throwing out there. And I guess they just don't understand that. But, of course, the excuse everyone's been running with is, "Oh, but it was raining. Karmelo needed to get out of the rain." Like he was going to melt like the freaking Wicked Witch from the West off the Wizard of Oz or something. Like, he had to get out of the rain, guys. And why is there always a weak excuse like that when it comes to these stories? There's always something stupid like that. Karmelo had to get out of the rain. He was just going for a jog in Tim's. He's in Timberland boots going for a jog. And Karmelo, he just had to get out of the rain. If Karmelo was worried about the weather, if Karmelo was worried about the rain, maybe, just maybe, he should have packed an umbrella. If Karmelo was worried about the rain that day, he should have packed an umbrella in his backpack. Maybe even a little poncho or something, but he didn't. He packed a knife. Because Karmelo wasn't worried about the rain. Karmelo wasn't worried about the weather. Karmelo was worried about starting some shit. And he went under that team's tent, not with an umbrella that was broken just trying to get out of the rain. No, he went under that team's tent with a knife in his backpack, knowing that he had a weapon, knowing that he planned to use it if there was an altercation. Now, some could argue that that is premeditated, right? But anyways, there's a former prosecutor that was actually speaking out about this case, speaking out about the stand your ground aspect, speaking out about the self-defense, and he says he doesn't think Karmelo has a solid case for self-defense at all. But instead of talking for him, I'm going to go ahead and let you all hear what he has to say. But first, people often ask, how can they support the channel? And the answer to that question is so very simple. You can support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, ringing that notification bell, sharing the video on social media. These are all free and easy ways to support the channel. But if you like what you see, if you like what you hear, if you really appreciate the hard work, and you want to take your support one step further, you could always send a super thanks or a cash app. Always greatly appreciated. Always needed over here because YouTube does not like showing this channel love. But with that being said, let's go ahead and listen to what this former prosecutor has to say, and then I'll be right back with more thoughts.
I want to address the Karmelo Anthony case and the Stand Your Ground law. I'm Shane Krauser, a former violent crimes prosecutor out of Phoenix, Arizona, where I worked with the Maricopa County Attorney's Office in both the gang and the homicide units. After retiring as a prosecutor, I worked as a partner with the firm where I consulted on cases where we represented the accused. Now, there is a lot of bad information going around by people thinking that Karmelo Anthony has a legitimate self-defense claim around the Stand Your Ground law. Another way of understanding or thinking about stand your ground is recognizing that the good guy has no duty to retreat against the bad guy. Texas does indeed have a law that says one can stand their ground, but Karmelo Anthony has two very real problems in his attempt to be successful with this claim. First, let's briefly recap the case. Karmelo shows up at a track meet and eventually makes his way to a tent occupied by a team that he is not a part of. Austin Metcalf, the victim in this case, asks Karmelo to leave the area. That evolves into a confrontation where Austin apparently pushes Karmelo in an attempt to get him to leave the area. At this point, Karmelo retrieves a knife and stabs Austin. Again, there are two glaring issues with the potential stand your ground claim for Karmelo. First, Karmelo was in an area where he was not permitted. One cannot enter a person's home and in turn claim that they are resisting a beatdown when they had no right to be there in the first place. In this case, by all accounts, Karmelo brought the fight to an area he had no right to be in. Second, even if Austin pushed Karmelo and Karmelo was relying on a stand your ground claim in response to the shove, Karmelo is only permitted to reciprocate in kind. Physical force in response to physical force. Karmelo is not justified in stabbing Austin with a knife when the force directed at Karmelo was physical in nature and not deadly. I believe Karmelo is headed to prison. His self-defense claim will fall flat and a jury will convict him, and rightfully so. What are your thoughts? I'd love to hear them in the comments.
I'm so glad he made that point because this is something a lot of people don't understand. When it comes to self-defense, you could defend yourself up until a certain point. Like, let's say Austin pushed Karmelo and Karmelo pushed Austin back and Austin fell down the bleachers and hit his head and died. Then Karmelo probably could get off with a self-defense claim. But just because you get a little push or a shove at a high school track meet doesn't mean that you can respond in such a brutal way like stabbing someone in the chest. It has to be an equal response to the threat level that you're faced with. You guys understand what I'm saying here? And I've tried to explain this in the past and people just don't seem to get it. They think that I'm lying to them because I hate Karmelo, but no, this is just how the law works. I understand some people don't understand that because they're used to just getting away with everything because there's a lot of people in this country that just have no accountability. But yeah, you can't just respond to a threat in that manner. If someone pushes you, you can push them back, maybe even punch them. But that doesn't mean you could just take out a gun and shoot them right then and there. That's not how self-defense works, especially not if you're at a school event. I'm telling you, the fact that this happened at a school event as opposed to like in the streets somewhere, it makes a big difference. And I don't understand why people can't see that. But I've been saying since day one that this case is really not that complicated. It's the people, it's the community backing Karmelo that is making things so complicated. And what's really happening here is I feel like they may be getting set up for failure, right? They're putting out all of these false narratives. They're giving these people hope. They think, like a lot of these people think without a doubt, oh, Karmelo's going to get off. This is clear as day, self-defense. Oh, the big bad Austin and his twin brother were robbing him and all of these other lies, right? So a lot of these people are like stuck in la la land. They're not stuck in reality. So when Karmelo gets found guilty, they're going to flip out, right? I think that's what a lot of this is. I feel like there's forces at play here that are purposely hyping these people up into thinking that Karmelo is going to get off. So there's a crazy response when he doesn't. But I'll leave you all to think about that. You guys let me know what you think of it down in the comments below. While you're down there, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe, ring that notification bell, and I'll talk to you all very soon in the next video.